Hey, everybody, welcome to another edition of the Bolt City Podcast. Dave Palet, Josh Palet, Mario Herron. Talking to you, of course, is our first show after the Chargers loss. It's our first regular show as we look forward to next year and, of course, finish out playoffs that the Chargers are no longer part of, which is hard to say and hard to believe. Guys, I'll be honest with you. I'm still disappointed, still upset about the loss against Jacksonville. Doesn't even matter that they were up 27-0. It's just a loss. It's a loss when you're thinking, well, they can get by Jacksonville. And the question for all of us, can they get by KC? Because they always play KC tough. And KC could say, you don't even remember the last time the Chargers beat the Chiefs. We would have had you guys again. But in reality, the Chargers were one possession away in both games for knocking off the Chiefs. And it's been that way for a long time where you feel things would have eventually gone away. Why not during the playoffs? But here you are, the Chargers are watching from their couches like we are, and they become fans or whatever else. But things have already started to turn over as the Chargers are looking forward now to the 2023 season and getting everything going through draft picks and whatever it takes. But they've made some moves already, and not exactly the moves that I was hoping as a fan personally that I thought were going to happen, but they have made some moves. Josh, talk about what they've done as far as coaches, guys who are no longer with the team.
Yeah, so the Chargers announced that they're parting ways with Joe Lombardi, our OC, and Shane Day, the quarterback's coach. And as a fan, I'm happy that those two guys are no longer going to be there because the Chargers were outscored by 48 points in the second half this season, which is seventh worst in the NFL. But what I really wanted was Brandon Staley to be gone. And the more news you saw coming out after the game was Brandon Staley's going nowhere. People said before the game that Brandon Staley was going to go nowhere, and they were right. Jim Trotter had a great thread. If you were on Twitter, Jim Trotter, gave a lot of reasons why the Chargers aren't going to move on from Brandon Staley, and he nailed it. So tomorrow you're going to hear Tom Telesco and Brandon Staley himself talk about the changes on the staff, talk about the direction they want to go. And I'm partly happy because, like I said, we needed a new OC, but I also wanted a new coach.
Kind of felt like, remember earlier in the year when Frank Wright fired his OC? And you're like, why the hell did you do that? Maybe that bombed a couple more weeks before he actually did get let go. It's kind of what I felt like the situation with Staley, where it's like at the end of the season, yeah, we made the playoffs, and yeah, we were possession away from moving on to the next round facing the Chiefs when, yeah, they've dominated us in the past. And I agree with you, Dave. If, raise your hand if you can even guess last time the Chargers beat the Chiefs or whatever. But at the same time, it's like that would have been a 50-50 game. Who knows what would have happened? And you fell short of your goals. There needed to be change. The change came with Lombardi as OC. I agree with it. He's been a massive letdown in every single sense of the word. There needed to be some type of change. Staley's coming back. It is what it is. I just hope this next year that he's back to himself. Because I feel like this year there's so many moments when Staley was known for this guy that just would risk it all. And then this year it's felt like he was hiding that a little bit. And then there's just weird things that went on throughout the year and some mismanagement of the clock. And hopefully that's all figured out. For this next year, we can really hit the ground running, can really hit it well with a new OC at the helm.
So here you go. So Staley's coming back. I mean, we all said in the show when they lost to Jacksonville that we thought Staley needs to go. You look at the Charger fan base, and they were saying the same thing, that they're ready for a change. It's time for Staley to go. People were about done with it. And so you start thinking in your mind, let's play the game. What coaches are available? Would you bring in a guy like Frank Reich, who was a Charger OC in the past? Would you bring in Sean Payton? Would they spend the money for Sean Payton? Because we all know that it's $20 million plus a first-round draft pick with the Saints to bring him in. And all the talk that Sean Payton is kind of letting it out that he wanted to stay in LA, whether that was to be a guy that replaced Sean McVay with the Rams if he were to leave, or if that means they were going to fire Brandon Staley and he takes over and gets a chance to coach a guy like Justin Herbert and stay in the city that he wants to be in. So they don't do anything. It reminds me of a time I remember when I was younger and my dad said, hey, I think I'm going to get you a new car. And I'm in high school and I'm like, good, the car I drive stinks. And I'm going, this is going to be great. So my dad goes, yeah, I'm going to get you a new car. We'll surprise you when you come home from school. And I come home from school and guess what? Same car is sitting in the driveway, but he put new rims on it and goes, there you go. It's good enough. And that's how I kind of feel Brandon Staley. You got rid of Lombardi, but you didn't do what we wanted. And look, I don't know what it took to get a new OC. I mean, honest to God, whoever they bring in as the guy and what they're going to do, first question you ask them, do you know the difference between vertical and horizontal? Because the last guy we had didn't know what the hell he was doing, probably failed geometry 3 times. So it's very, very frustrating, for me that Staley's the guy. Josh, you said this, I think, in week 2. It stuck with me for a long time. There are a couple shows I was thinking back to that we did going, when did we call this? Because I think we called a lot of things, not to pat ourselves on the back, but Josh used, the phrase, hey, what's our identity? You need an identity. And I thought about that for weeks and weeks and went on and on. Well, the identity was, just like Josh said a second ago, and Mario, is let's go forward on 4th down. We're gonna go against the odds. We're gonna put the other team basically in a threatening position. And this year they didn't do it. I thought they didn't do it, guys, because he was talked to by ownership. Because the Chiefs game going back 2 years ago was the one they lost, where they went forward on 4th down like crazy and it backfired. But that was the difference of making the playoffs and not making the playoffs for the Chargers. So, hey, we're going to take away what your identity is, or what you want to be known as the guy that puts it on the table. And then you go, okay, here you go. We're going to take that away from you. So now what is Staley's identity? And I'm not saying that you have to have one exactly, but you have to win. And you have to win at a consistent level. And you have to beat the teams you're supposed to beat. And you have to make it to the postseason and make a run. And so this team right now, even though they won 4 of their last 5 games, guess what? They ended up losing in the playoffs. So you made the playoffs. You were 1 game better this year than you were the year before when you lost to the Raiders on the last game of the season. You went 1 game further. You just lost to Jacksonville in an embarrassing loss. What everybody was watching. It was the only game on. And yet you lose and you're going, we're going to keep the coach. I'll ask you guys this question before we even talk about potential guys coming in. Staley staying, is that the Chargers being cheap, or is that the Chargers believing he's actually the guy to help them win a Super Bowl?
I think it's both. There's a lot you said there that I want to talk about, but to answer your question, both. You can't tell me that Brandon Staley's not part of the problem. He's the same guy that called the defense that gave up a touchdown every single drive. And guess what? It was going to be a touchdown on the last drive too if it wasn't a field goal. If Cameron Dicker would have made the kick and we're up by 5 points, what makes you think it wasn't going to be another touchdown? So it was going to be a touchdown probably every drive the second half. But yet, let's fire Joe Lombardi because Brandon Staley, you're doing great, sweetie.
Hold on. Every drive of the second half and the last drive of the first half were all touchdowns.
Correct. Brandon Staley's part of the problem, and I do believe they're being cheap. If you were to tell me you have to give up your first-round pick for Sean Payton, a guy that's won a Super Bowl, I'd say yes. I'd also give up Joey Bosa for a third-round pick, but we're not going to talk about that today. I'm still pissed about Joey Bosa. I want a new coach. Brandon Staley coming back next year with, let's say, Cliff Kingsbury as the OC. We're still not going to be good. This team has no identity, like you said. Handing the ball to Michael Bandy on a jet sweep on a needed third and short? Are we kidding here? Is this a joke? Seriously, what kind of team are we? We have no identity whatsoever. And as a Chargers fan, and I'm talking to you, whoever's listening, you can't tell me you know what the Chargers are going to do from week to week because we watch every single game, we look at all the news, and we didn't know what the Chargers were going to give us from week to week. You can't say that about the best teams in the league. You know what you're going to see from the Eagles. You know what you're going to see from the 49ers. You know what you're going to see from the Chiefs. Chargers were not in that category the whole season.
What I thought was interesting was what was like planned and released and just done by the Chargers like after this loss. I think it was yesterday you just saw an overwhelming support of Staley. You know, all these guys coming at Eckler saying, I still believe in this coach staff. Herbert saying this. Bosa saying this. An overwhelming sound of support. There was no attitude like J.K. Dobbins after the Bengals-Ravens game where he was just sound off, pissed off, going, I don't know why I wasn't given the ball to win this game. I have no idea why inside the red zone. I have no idea why. There was none of that. There was all support for Staley. And it's just, that's interesting to me. Like when I saw that, I was like, so does that say that he still has a locker room, that he has a back in the locker room, that maybe there's some leadership there, there's just some holes in the team? Or does that say that stuff from up top going, hey, look, no matter what happens at the end of the season, Staley's coming back. So you either buy in or buy out, and we're going to trade you away and we're going to keep this going. To me, it just, I don't know if it's cheap. I think it's just you are happy with where you are. This is where the Los Angeles Chargers, this is where you're happy being. You're happy being middle of the tier in freaking I'm blanking on it. You're not in heaven, you're not in hell, you're in the in-between. Los Angeles Chargers. I'm blanking on what that's usually called, but it's not called that anymore.
It's called the 21st pick. It's called the 21st pick, Mario. The pick we have every season.
Yeah. That's what it is. We're in purgatory. We're in LA Charger land. That's what we are right now. I think that's where Tom Telesco is fine with being.
See, I don't believe those lines when the players are asked those questions. I hate to say it, I've been one of those guys that asks those questions, and when the guy still has a job, you have to defend him. Because Mario, if somebody came to you right now and put a microphone in front of your face and said, "What do you think about your boss over at Odyssey?" You're going to say great things because you don't know if he's shown the door. What if he hasn't shown the door and he now has you as a guy that trashed him? But if a new guy came in, you're going to say great things about that guy. Hey, it's a new day, and hopefully this guy can take us where we need to be. But that's just protection. And look, people say Derwin James is sitting there going, it's Derwin James. He's not going in anybody's doghouse. It's the right thing to say because Derwin James has the C on his chest. He's a captain. And if Derwin James doesn't believe it, the other guys aren't going to believe it either. If you're stuck with Staley, you got to get on board and go, he's the best. He's all we have. So we got to be 100% in. Now, look, behind the scenes, when those guys are going out to eat, who knows what's said? I'll tell you what's said. Those guys are ripping him. Those guys are going, this is not the guy. And this is why he's not the guy. Bam, bam, bam. And it used to be back in the day, again, back in the day move. But if you told a coach you had to get rid of one of the guys you hired, they would say, I'm going with him. You aren't going to fire that. You aren't going to fire Lombardi because I'm going too. There's none of that. Staley holding the door open, flipping the guys their keys, going, here you go. Hey, Joe, don't forget your house keys too. I mean, it's gone. And that's the way it goes. And Tom Telesco, I hate to say it, he's thinking the same damn thing. Woo! Thank God I'm still here too. Joe Lombardi's gone, but man, I kept my job. I'm a guarantee tell me I'm wrong. Telesco and Staley got up Monday morning, told their wives, I don't know if today's the last day that I'm part of the Los Angeles Chargers. I don't know what's going to happen at the end of the day. I could be shown the door today. And all of us were thinking the same thing. If everybody was blown out, none of us would have been surprised, right?
No, not at all. No. But everybody said Brandon Staley was going to keep his job. Fernando Ramirez said it. Jim Trotter said it. This was before the Jaguars game, and they echoed it immediately after the Jaguars game. So that just shows you it's an organizational thing. We talked about it on the last show. A fish stinks from the head down. This is what the Chargers are. Demand more as fans. We have, for the most part. But then you have a lot of fans on social media saying we're good with Staley. Guess what? I'm going to be selling shirts that say stuck with Staley. If you want one, you can call me. Hit me up on Twitter, Josh Palet. I'll give you one. The fact that Brandon Staley gave the game ball to Dean Spanos after I forgot what game it was, and everybody just claps and goes, hey, this is great. It made me sick.
Kiss ass.
It's kiss ass. It's when you're in elementary school and the smartest girl in the class gives your teacher an apple. You say, look at this girl. What's her problem? That's how I felt about the Brandon Staley situation. Sebastian Joseph Day coming out. Brandon Staley's the best. Really? Because you were under Sean McVay last year, and that's the best. That's a coach that I would love to have. You can't tell me Brandon Staley's the guy that will lead this team to the promised land. What has he done to show you that? He's done nothing in his time in LA to show you that he's a true winner. He's never been a head coach. The Chargers have a history of going with first-year head coaches, and once again, they fail with another first-year head coach. Let's go with somebody else, man, somebody with experience. That's what we as fans really want.
Tom Telesco is good at a lot of things. I'd say he's a talented drafter, but boy, he's not good at picking head coaches. He's not good at all. No, history just keeps happening over and over again. So the spot we're at right now is offensive coordinator. I think I have a guy in mind that I would like for offensive coordinator, but I'm curious who's if you had to say the top guy you'd want right now for offensive coordinator heading into the 2023 season for Los Angeles Chargers, who's going to work buddy with Justin Herbert, our beautiful king. Who's it going to be, Dave?
I got two guys that jump out. Can I say two?
Yeah, go ahead, say two.
Okay. And I don't think either one of them take the job. But the two guys I want would be Cliff Kingsbury and Frank Reich. Those would be the two guys. Now, at the same time, I don't think they get either one. I think Frank Reich thinks it's beneath him. And I think Cliff Kingsbury is far from being ready to coach in the NFL, where he has his mindset of what he's doing next. Sounds like I've seen the pictures on Instagram. He's having a great time. Trust me.
All right, I'm gonna throw out a name, and I agree with the two people you said. I want Cliff Kingsbury a little bit more than Frank Reich. I'm gonna throw out another name. You tell me what you think. Joe Brady, the old offensive coordinator from LSU that everybody fell in love with, that went to the Panthers. Now is the quarterback coach of the Bills. Is that somebody you'd want?
I think he'd be great with the young guy. You tell me. I mean, I don't know why it didn't work in Carolina, but what he did with Burrow and LSU was insane. So
who was his quarterback with the Panthers?
Oh, it's true. That's true.
Yeah.
It was a disaster.
I think he's doing just fine with Josh Allen.
He had Bridgewater.
Even though Josh Allen was great before, but
wasn't Bridgewater his quarterback?
I don't know. He had nobody good. Yeah, nobody good.
He had nobody good, and he had Matt Rule to deal with.
Yes.
Yeah.
So which is not good. Josh, that was my number one guy.
Really?
My number one guy.
Wow.
Because if you look at that before, he was under Sean Payton as an offensive assistant, 17 and 18. I know Lombardi was under Payton too, but let's just kick rocks with him for a second. So he has experience with one of the best offensive minds in football. Was in Baton Rouge, where obviously that's the greatest offense in college football history. That's why Burrow's here. That's why Chase is here. And then the Panthers, I'm going to say that's definitely on. I don't want to say it's all on Matt Rule, but I think that's also two college minds going in the NFL at the same time, which I don't think that's ever worked in the history of NFL. It just never works. And then on top of that, now he's with the Buffalo Bills, learning that offense, that system with Josh Allen. Come here. Come on over, Joe. Back-to-back Joes.
Josh, who's your guy? Who do you want?
I'm with Mario. Joe Brady. The cool thing about Joe Brady.
Joe Brady's your. I'm sorry, I cut you off, but you would take Joe Brady over Frank Reich if you had a choice.
Yeah, the thing that Joe Brady has going for him is the same thing Cliff Kingsbury has going for him is relatability. I think Justin Herbert's a very likable, easygoing guy. Those two guys are. I know Mario doesn't like Cliff Kingsbury. They're good as offensive coordinators type of guys. They're cool. There's the guy you can talk to, the guy you can bounce ideas off of. Frank Reich is a little bit older. So I'd go, if I had to pick 1, 2, 3, I'd go Joe Brady 1, Cliff Kingsbury 2, and Frank Reich 3. Also, I agree. I don't think Cliff Kingsbury is going to be the OC. Even if he was offered the job, I don't think he would take it.
Yeah, I'm curious to know what Kingsbury ends up doing. I mean, does he take time off? And also, I wonder here's the deal. We found out Jim Harbaugh's going back to Michigan, okay? Does that mean Sean Payton is the guy that's destined for the Broncos? I mean, we know Sean Payton's going through and he's doing the interview process with the Texans, the Panthers, the Broncos. I think he was hoping he was going to get one with the Chargers. But does that mean that Sean Payton's taken one of the jobs that Harbaugh thought he was going to get? Kind of curious.
Okay, a couple things. Sean Payton on a show that's popular talking about what he's going to do and why he's going to do it is wild. I've never seen a coach ever do that before, ever. Talking about contract negotiations before they even happen. I love it. If I'm one of the guys interviewing him, I hate it because I don't want him to open his mouth anymore. But him talking about the McNair family and the draft capital with the Texans was just awesome to listen to. I think he's going to go to the Texans. I really do. I think he wants Bryce Young. I think they're going to find a way to get him. And that just makes the most sense, I think. I would never want to go to the Denver Broncos. Last team I'd want to be with is the Denver Broncos.
I think it's so crazy that he's doing like he did another show with, I think it's it's his daughter. But it's just kind of crazy that there's this head coach going on this like PR run. And instead of talking about like, opportunities he hopes to have, he's talking about what opportunity like he prefers the most. Like it's like he's going to interview the owner and go, why should I come here? He's flipping it. He's doing the Step Brothers, Will Ferrell. Now I'm going to ask you the questions. Like that's what he's doing. It's the craziest thing ever. But I agree with you, Josh. I don't get Denver. I do not get Denver. Why would you want that headache? Like at all? Why would you want to handle Russell Wilson? Why do you want to take over that team? That doesn't make any sense to me why you would want to do that. I think Texans look like crazy enough that we would say Houston's a destination spot, but like Houston looks really good, I think, in that matter. If you like the other positions, like Panthers, get the hell out of here. Colts, get the hell out of here. Like none of those just I think would even intrigue them. Or like I think I said this a couple shows back, but I still wouldn't be that surprised if he's like, man, I really like Caleb Williams, and just goes, I'm going to sit out one more year and just see maybe who gets Caleb Williams or has a number one spot, because that guy's a talent. Maybe he needs to stop talking smack on his fingernails. I don't know if that's going to really work out for you in the NFL. I think the guy's going to smack you in the mouth when you do that. But I don't know. It's so crazy. This whole Sean Payton things, it's like my favorite thing going on of just his little PR run he's doing. And I interview you now. I love that move.
Yeah. Is it Pam? Is that with the D? Yeah, you're right. I mean, that's exactly how it's going right now. So couple things around the NFL that I want to touch on before we come back to the Chargers, because I want to ask you guys about Keenan Allen and also possible trade with quarterbacks. But when you look at the NFL, Mario, you touch on it for a second. John Harbaugh and the Ravens have had success, right? We saw what he has done. And someone put out there, and I would give credit to the person if I can remember who said it, but he said, look, nobody's afraid of the Ravens anymore. And when they said that, I was like, it's absolutely right. Like, physically used to be afraid of the Ravens. And it used to be all the way back to Ray Lewis and Ed Reed and everyone else they had on that defense, and the new defensive guys that would step in, Suggs, anyone that would come in there, you'd go, man, that's an intimidating team that, when they hit you, it seems a little bit different. The Ravens always played physical football, and all of a sudden they had a quarterback, Lamar Jackson. I agree with almost everything J.K. Dobbins said, except he has been a major part of the problem the last 2 years. The guy who is the guy that you couldn't depend on the most outside of Lamar Jackson over the last half of the season is J.K. Dobbins. He's the guy you drafted from Ohio State, the running back that's supposed to provide you with all this, and he's hurt, and then he's hurt again, and then he's hurt again, and then it's just one of those things where, like, man, the best of ability is availability, and J.K. Dobbins seems like he's not available enough for the Ravens. So when he opens his mouth, you kind of lose a little bit of credibility, so to speak. He might be an extreme talent, and as you said, Mario, earlier in the show, that you trade guys when they aren't on board. He's a guy you can see now you got to trade. You honestly have to trade the guy because he went against the coach and staff and everything they're trying to do. Lamar Jackson, one of the wildest stories, and we asked the question here last week, and we all kind of looked at each other and we said, should we have said that? Is Lamar Jackson kind of milking it? Is he milking this injury? Is he faking this injury because what's up in there with his contract and how they basically disrespected him by giving $100 million to somebody on the defensive side of the ball? Well, he doesn't even travel with the team. That's not a good sign. I mean, he didn't even travel with the team to Cincinnati from Baltimore. That's insane. I've never heard of such a thing. So he's not coming back to the Ravens, even though they could franchise tag him. If you think Lamar Jackson's going to play under the franchise tag, you're out of your mind. If you think his knee hurts now, wait till you franchise tag him and try and give him $50 million. He doesn't care about that money. He wants to be locked up long-term and shown that he's respected and loved by the Ravens. Okay. So I think we all agree Lamar's out. Okay. So Lamar is, what team will Lamar be on in 2023 come fall? So many different scenarios as far as where he goes. Okay. I'm going to throw one at you because to me, the Ravens are really in a horrible situation where everybody knows you have to trade him. You have to get rid of the guy that makes your team go. You can't compete without Lamar Jackson. But at the same time, the Miami Dolphins can't compete with Tua because you can't rely on Tua, right? Tua's in a horrible situation, unfortunately, because he's had so many concussions. And you don't know when he's going to have another one. If you're the Ravens, will you pull that trade right now and say, we'll make that trade? We'll send Lamar Jackson to Miami for Tua. I know it sounds lopsided when you say it like that, but would you pull that move right there to say we're going to get a guy that's still on the low end of a contract in Tua, and maybe we have him for 1 year or 2 years just to buy us some time to kind of fix a problem that we didn't see coming?
And I love Tua. Obviously, Alabama fan. This side, right there.
Yeah.
Would never trade for Tua. There's no guarantee Tua's going to be able to play in the long term. There's concussions that he had this year, just the beginning. Everybody knows once you get one concussion, the second concussion is easier to get, the next one's easier to get, and so on and so forth. I would never trade for a guy that's had multiple concussions, especially a quarterback, a guy that's going to be hit, not looking, over and over and over again. There's no shot I'd trade for him.
I wouldn't trade for him. Yeah, I wouldn't either. Also, too, it's like you kind of saw Tua with no receivers, no with Waddle, but no receivers. He didn't do very well. So what the hell is he going to do with the Ravens when they have no talent at wide?
You only have Mark Andrews. That's all you got.
Yeah, so okay. I don't think that's smart. I don't think they do that.
All right, so here I'm asking you guys this with no prep of me just throwing things at you guys. How do you solve both quarterback problems? Miami now has a quarterback that they can't rely on, but yet this roster is loaded with talent, and they don't have a quarterback, okay? The Ravens don't have a quarterback either because he's refusing to play for you. What do you do if you're those two teams? By the way, when you look at wide receivers and getting Lamar Jackson help in the offseason, the only free agent wide receiver out there that anybody's ever heard of is Juju. That's it. There's not one good free agent wide receiver available in the offseason. Everything's going to have to be done through the draft. or a trade. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, I mean, what do you do if you're those two franchises, two playoff franchises that don't have a quarterback basically going into next year?
Try to draft one. I'll just try to draft a quarterback. You have a deep class of quarterbacks this year. You're not going to find anybody better than what you have from this last season, but what are you going to do? There's not many good free
That's
agent
what I'm saying.
quarterbacks.
What do you do?
Yeah, you're in trouble. Good thing we're not doing the podcast for those teams because I hate
it. We just do the checklist every week. No Texans, no Panthers, no Broncos. We just checklist the ones we don't want to work with. Yeah.
No, I would.
Those are two playoff teams is my point, which changes things because it goes back to inside the division is what I want to ask you, which affects the Chargers. For the Raiders, we brought this up. What happens with the Raiders at quarterback? And there are three guys that are rumors with the Raiders. You're hearing Tom Brady, of course. You're hearing Aaron Rodgers, and you're hearing Lamar Jackson all of a sudden. If you're the Raiders, what is your best plan of attack? And if you're the Chargers, are you concerned if the Raiders land any of those guys?
Okay, I'll answer it first. I would take those quarterbacks in the reverse order of what you said. So I'd go Lamar Jackson, Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady. Those are the three guys. I would do it in that order. And I think Lamar Jackson's an actual real possibility for the Raiders. He kind of looks like a Raider to me. The way he plays, the way he goes about his business. Maybe it's because he already wore black uniforms with the Ravens, but I can just see it in my head. Also, I think a sleeper would be the New York Jets for Lamar Jackson and the New Orleans Saints. I'm going to throw that out there too. But if I'm the Chargers, I'm not concerned. I don't think Lamar Jackson has shown that he can throw the ball consistently ever in his career. Even when he won the MVP, he's throwing it to the tight end every single time. Even Devontae Adams, it's great. I still don't know if he can hit him, even at Derek Carr's pace. He hasn't proven it ever that he can throw the ball to the receiver consistently. So I wouldn't be concerned. I think the Raiders still have a terrible defense. Until they get that fixed, I wouldn't be concerned if I'm the Chargers.
So I have a great solution for like the Ravens problem, and it's something that they should have done a long time ago. So it's like stop being a numbnuts and don't extend the linebacker you just traded for. That's his own agent, and actually extend the freaking franchise QB that you have. Like you can be dumb, but you can't be stupid. All right. It's okay to be dumb sometimes, but you can't be stupid. Because when you're stupid, that means you're stupid all the time. So they can't be doing that. So now that you're in this spot, and I agree with you, like it doesn't really seem like Lamar is gonna want you can franchise tag him. It doesn't seem like he's gonna want to play. I do think I'm not looking at Raiders what they have to offer or anything like that. I do think Raiders would be a great destination for him, just something to restart. But in all honesty, I see more of Rodgers going there. That's starting to make more and more sense to me. That's another guy. Like if we ever did a ranking, maybe we do it sometimes this offseason of most annoying storylines. Mine would go Harbaugh leaving Michigan, and second would be Aaron Rodgers taking psychedelics and going on Pat McAfee's show and saying, this is what's in my head right now. It's two most annoying things that's goes on right now. It pisses me off. But I do think like if Lamar Jackson, it makes sense to go to the Raiders. The Jets is a very interesting one where I really want to watch for. And you mentioned, I want to go back to real quick, the receiver thing. I was thinking this last night. Leftwich, it's, they were like, what, he got fired today? But then they're like, no, he didn't get fired. So that's a little weird. But let's say Brady retires and Bucs are like, we got to blow this up. Mike Evans could be available and Goodwin could be available. So if you need a receiver right now, if in your Ravens and you really kind of want to say this, I guess that is the kind of direction I would look into. DeAndre Hopkins is people keep saying he's going to be available for trades. You just have to trade for him. But if the Raiders, I do think Lamar would be a great option. But I think if any, they're going full on win now. If you go full on win now, you go get Adam's best friend, and that's the psychedelic loser and Aaron Rodgers over there. So you gotta go trade for him.
Well, Aaron Rodgers obviously is the most accurate passer of the three guys, right? That you say. And for the Raiders, they kind of need to win now. I mean, that's what Mark Davis was saying. We got a brand new stadium. We're in a brand new city. We need to win now. We have veteran players on this team. We can't afford to sit there and let these guys rot away. And even, Josh Jacobs is a veteran at this point who led the league in rushing. You have a lot of talent on the offensive side of the ball. You want to have somebody that can get these guys the football. Aaron Rodgers might be the best. That being said, all the talk that Tom Brady is going to the Raiders because of his relationship with Josh McDaniels, Brady looked absolutely terrible against the Cowboys. I mean, he looked worse than Carr. He wasn't accurate at all. I know the total numbers, yardage-wise, were decent if you just looked at the box score, but it was really bad. It was pretty sad actually to watch, to see that here's supposed to be the greatest football player of all time on a national TV audience, and it's going, he is absolutely terrible. And we all know about his personal life and how things kind of fell apart, between his wife, between losing a ton of money, investing with the wrong people, everything that's gone on with Tom Brady. You hate to see, the legends basically crash at the end. I mean, Peyton Manning was very rare on how bad Peyton Manning was his last year, and the defense was able to win him a Super Bowl. But man, it dropped off so fast. That's the craziest thing about this position, that you can lead the league in yards and touchdowns one year and then all of a sudden be, arguably the worst quarterback in the league. And Tom Brady was terrible. So at age 46 next year, what are you going to expect to get out of Tom Brady? You mentioned wide receivers, Mario, right there. So here's my question for you guys. Keenan Allen, okay? He's been at the Chargers his whole career. Is it time to look at Keenan Allen as a trade piece?
You go, Mario.
Okay, so here's the thing that we know, right? The past couple years, every receiving draft class has been producing automatic stars, right?
Yep.
Garrett Wilson, we saw that. Chris Olave, he didn't get as much target as he should have. Then we go back to Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson. Every year, there is a stud. I'm fine with trading him. You're probably not going to get a first.
No.
Probably not a second or third, but package that up and then trading up to get a receiver, a young receiver, I'm completely fine with that. Completely fine with that. So in that sense, yes. Allen, I love Keenan Allen. Third down Allen, amazing. But I'd rather be on the short side of 30 than the long side of 30. I'd rather not extend him now and be like, okay, well, is he going to be like Julio Jones when he gets older? Or like, AJ Green when you see him catch a ball and you're like, holy hell, he's in the league? Like, are we going to be doing that? Because I don't want to be doing that. So for that sense, I would trade him to package up and move up and get, I'm blanking on his name, but like the TCU wideout, or I'm not even going to try to not stand.
It's going to be somebody that steps
Smith,
up,
whatever his name is, on
Ohio State always gives you two guys. Absolutely.
Yeah. So for that reason, yeah.
Yeah, I'm with Mario. I agree. Once a receiver turns 30, it's probably better to look in a different direction. And Mike Williams showed us this year that he's a number one receiver. If there's any time to do it now, it would be after this season when Mike Williams had his most consistent year on the field. When he's on the field, Mike Williams was a clear number one receiver on any team, most teams at least. This is the time to do it. Elevate Mike Williams and maybe get another piece. But DeAndre Hopkins is interesting. He's also a little bit older. Mike Evans is a deep threat. Chris Godwin's kind of like Keenan Allen. He's a short intermediate guy. So I don't like any of the free agent receivers. Maybe Allen Lazard. He's totally out of Green Bay. He said he hates it there. But the free agent wide receiver class is absolutely dreadful if any of you want to look it up. So not many good options there. But Keenan Allen, maybe package him and move him out.
I just thought of this. Michael Mayer,
the tight end from Notre Dame.
We have said it all year. Like, love Gerald Everett, but they're trying to get too much out of him. Trade up a little bit for Buddy and get him.
I like that. Yeah, it's a good call.
All right. So would it shock you guys if the Chargers pull this move? And because as we do the show, the three of us believe the Chargers are going up. They aren't in the situation they're ready to tear it down and rebuild. You aren't doing that when you have a young franchise quarterback. You're always thinking, what's next? Super Bowl. That's what's next. If the Chargers all of a sudden did these moves going into next season, would it shock you? Okay. We talk about the guys who make the big time money on the team, the big time name players, the people whose jerseys you see, tailgating in the parking lot before a game begins. If you went into the 2023 season, would it shock you if the Chargers said goodbye to Joey Bosa, to Khalil Mack, and Keenan Allen? If all three of those guys were not on the team to start the 2023 season, would you be surprised?
No. I'm so over Khalil Mack and Joey Bosa. I'm sorry, Khalil Mack. I was in love with his game at the beginning of the year. At the end of the season, it was like, did Khalil Mack play today? There's so many times at the end of the year you got to wonder if Khalil Mack was out there. Am I crazy for saying that? Like the last game, for example, you're wondering, well, this is fourth quarter. Khalil Mack's going to do something, right? He didn't. Joey Bosa, I'm trying to not cuss on the show. I don't want Joey Bosa to be on the team anymore either. So I'm completely fine with Khalil Mack moving on. He's old as dirt. And Joey Bosa, bye, dude. Like, no shot. I don't want him back either.
I hate going against Mac.
You love Mac.
I do love Mac. Love Mac. We die for him. I'd be really surprised if like I think one of the three's gone. I think that logically, I think one of the three is going to be gone. I'd be really surprised if all three are gone. Bosa's just had not a good year. I mean, I know he was unhealthy, but just besides that, when he was playing, just not, especially the way he ended it, just not very good. I'd be really surprised if all three went. I'm also fine with giving Bosa and Mac one more time around. But have a plan. When one gets hurt. Because one's gonna get hurt. But like you gotta have a plan. Have some backups. Because one thing the Chargers didn't have this year, no depth in any position. There's just none. So get ready for a little that going against you a little bit.
So, Josh, you brought up the point about Mac in the postseason, of course, the game against Jacksonville. Who's playing left tackle for Jacksonville in that game?
It's a backup. It wasn't Cam Robinson.
It was a backup. I mean, that's why you got to say goodbye to Khalil Mack. That's why you can't fall in love with players. And if you're the GM, you don't fall in love with players. You're going against a backup. You needed to just step up, and you couldn't. And we call him, old man Mac. Look, he hasn't even been in the league, 10 years yet. I guess 10 seasons he's been in now, right? He came out in 2014. Am I correct on that? 2014 for Khalil Mack, and you're sitting there and you're going, is he the same player he was before? Absolutely not. He's not. I mean, guys age really quick in the NFL. And, it's great to have the name, and I'm sure he's a great locker room presence. I'm kind of at this point where I'm done with the locker room presence, guys. I need the guys to show up on the field, and I'm sorry, Drew Tranquill, who completely outplayed his contract this year. It's the kind of guy I want. I want the guy that you see on television giving 100% every single play, giving everything he has. And that's what it is you're going to see in the postseason from these 8 remaining teams is guys who are giving everything they have. And that's just what it takes to win that Super Bowl. It's hard. I mean, right now, there's no reason why the Chargers aren't in this thing except for coaching and obviously the way they have schemed this roster. So every coach in the league, 7 of the 8 coaches are offensive-minded coaches, right? Buffalo's the only one of the defensive-minded coach. The average age quarterback left in the postseason is 25 years old. Justin Herbert's 24. He'd fit right in. There are 2 guys who are quarterbacks who are 23 right now in the NFL playoffs. The Chargers should be in there. And you talk about depth, and we talk about injuries all the time. Look, Derwin James is all pro this year, but Derwin James has been hurt a good portion of his career too. How do we know next year is not a year where Derwin James goes down again? You obviously need depth out there. It's very frustrating that our season's over, especially when they're supposed to be loaded with talent. And people go, the Chargers are cheap and they don't pay for talent. How many times do we have to go over that stat that the Chargers are the first team in NFL history to have 8 guys named in the top 100, voted on by the players, which means these guys are supposed to be able to produce and supposed to be able to play. To be eliminated in the first round, it doesn't get any easier as we talk about this. This has been a disappointing season.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. The team going to this season, we always talk about the most guys in the top 100 with 8. I would totally just want a team that had more depth. I think that was a big hole this season. You could tell when one of our star players went down or one of our starters went down, there's nothing behind them. I'd like to have a more complete team, not saying as star heavy, like I said, more guys that can play at different positions. Drew Tranquill, I love the call right there. He was a guy that coming into the season, a lot of people said he was a weak point, but he gives everything he has. He's out there every game. I want more guys like Drew Tranquill, guys that they seem like they just really, really care. I don't know how many guys on the team you could tell like really cared. And I'm sure they all do, they all care. But I want guys like Drew Tranquill where it looks like it means everything to him. He's that Midwest guy we need, right, Mario?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Hey, easy, relax. There's a lot of guys on the team that just look like they're going through the motions. Didn't you guys kind of feel that way too?
Tony Gonzalez said it before. He said it before the season began, the former Chiefs tight end. He says over 80% of the guys in the NFL play for the paycheck. The fans, basically root for the Super Bowl, and the players basically are playing for the paycheck. It's not as important as you think. It's the guys who have been in the league for a long time and have already gotten their money that say the Super Bowl is now important. Their legacy is now important. The fans always want to believe the Super Bowl is the only thing on the player's mind. That's not true, and I haven't played that position, but when a guy like Tony Gonzalez, who's a Hall of Famer, tells you that's the way it is, you kind of believe Tony Gonzalez, unfortunately.
Yeah. How many guys on the team this year do we say every game we like what they did? Austin Eckler, Drew Tranquil, Derwin James. How many guys every game you felt that way? Justin
Michael
Herbert,
Davis.
right? I mean, there's not many guys on the team where you're like, this guy is the guy every week. You never know what you're going to get from the team. Michael Davis at the end was consistent, but you watch the like I said, the Chiefs Bills. You see the same group of core guys on all those teams step up. The Chargers had 3 guys, and who I just said would step up every week. Everybody else was a question mark.
Yeah. I hate to say it. I believe a lot of that comes from coaching, that mindset sense as far as what we're going for.
But let's keep our head coach. Yeah, let's keep what we have going.
I'll give a lot of credit to Andy Reid. Andy Reid, I'm sure he keeps that locker room in a direction where those guys are forced to think, wins and results first. And I'm sure Tomlin's doing the same thing. That you just won't be here if you aren't. The paycheck's going to come, but I guarantee you those guys have that locker room focus, and they were able to read those guys. You hear stories all the time how coaches and GMs read players before they even put the uniform on, and what kind of person they want, on that team. It's frustrating. I mean, things I hope continue to get better, but to improve by just one game this year is not what we expected. So look, you have the playoffs coming up again this weekend. It's going to be exciting. Let's make our picks. Let's see how do we do last week, Mario, and see if we can continue our success or if we can change what we did. I have no idea how we did.
So if you faded us, you're a rich man. Congratulations. Keep that in.
We didn't do well.
Mark that down for tax season, I guess. Yeah, we didn't do hot. I'm not gonna lie to you. We were about as cold as it gets. Me and Dave both went 2-4.
Okay, not good.
The only win that the 2 wins Dave had was Niners and Giants, and the 2 wins I had was Jaguars and Giants. Josh, you went 0 for 6.
Jesus, that's a lot of talent.
Good thing I have no money to bet.
Yeah. So
it's Josh's defense. He's dyslexic. He would have gone 6-0.
Yeah,
I read it wrong.
That's what it is.
Yeah, that's what it is. We have a lot of issues. Yeah, we got 2 guys with speech impediments, and then we have dyslexic. We're not the brightest group we're looking at this right now. So yeah, we're gonna need a big bounce back weekend in the divisional round. It's a little bit crazy too, if I'm gonna be honest with you. Ooh, that even moved. So we'll get started with it, but yeah, not the best. So right now our rankings from all together on the season. I am in first place, 39-40-1. Josh, you're in second, 37-42-1. Dave, you are still in last place, 36-43-1. So those
Basically,
are.
You can flip a coin and do better than all of us, right? I mean, we're below 500. What the hell?
We are below 500.
Oh,
just barely, though. Just barely.
This is
Could be worse.
Around.
Yeah, we can still turn around. We would like to see you guys do the same. All right. We'll go first one. Jaguars plus 8.5. Travel to Arrowhead, Kansas City.
Jaguars.
I'm going
cover.
Jacksonville.
Yeah.
Who are you saying, Josh?
Jaguars covered. Chiefs win.
I agree with that.
So that's a clean sweep on the board. I think Jags at least cover.
Okay.
A side bet for just people. I know I just went really cold, so people are going to be like, yeah, sure, buddy. But Chiefs, I swear, Chiefs first half. If Chiefs first half spread, let me look at this now where it's at. So Chiefs first half is -5.5. I would take that. The Jaguars, I've repeated all year, came from behind and come out flat. So Jags, Chiefs -5.5 for what it's worth. You can take that with you to the bank, or you can fade me. Do what you want. I don't control your life. Giants versus Eagles. Eagles are favored. Eagles -7.5.
All right, you go first.
I'm going to go Philadelphia. I'm going to go Eagles. All right. I think the Eagles sitting there getting a little bit of rest. You listen to Jalen talk. He's a winner. I think I'm going Eagles.
What do you got, Mario?
I think Giants here. I know Hurts just got off the IR, and it's like, oh, he's healthy again, but I'm not too sure. I don't think Dable's gonna be sitting there and not have these guys prepared. I think that's a huge spread. Like the fact that they're even given a touchdown and they could still cover, I think it's insane. Daniel Jones hype, let's relax. Like, that is really flown out of proportion. He played one good game in the playoffs. Let's, get off our knees, Like, he's good. We shouldn't be saying he's, Josh Allen. Like, that to me is crazy, but I like Giants plus 7.5.
All right, so obviously this is the third matchup between the Giants and the Eagles. On December 11th, the Giants lost 48-22. And then on week 18, every week 18 game is a little bit weird, but they lost 22-16. I'm going to have the Eagles cover. I think the Eagles cover in this game. I like Jalen in the playoffs. He's a gamer. I'm going Eagles.
Here's one thing that's interesting to me about this game also. Don't forget that Dable was Jalen's offensive coordinator for one full year, which means, they sat in a room together every single day for a year. And so they know each other well.
48-22, buddy. Did you hear that a second ago? 48-22. They get 48 points to Jalen. You hear that part?
Yeah. But my thing is, all right, I won't say another word. I'm just saying I picked the Eagles, not because Dable knows. I did pick the Eagles.
Which side are you taking?
I'm telling you right now, Dable in his mind is going to try and make Jalen do things that he thinks makes him uncomfortable. Jalen in his mind is going to be thinking a little, hey, I owe you, punk. You're the one that told Saban to bench me for Tua. Hey, this is a prove it game. I'm still pissed.
That's not true.
Jalen's playing angry.
All right.
Go ahead.
All right, I like that. That's not the direction I thought you were going to go at all.
Of course not.
No. But I still shout out Nick Saban for the best gambling throw of my life in that game. Bengals, Bills minus 4.5.
The game's in Atlanta. Is it in
Oh
Atlanta?
my God, the game is Yep. That you're right.
4.5 Bills.
Yeah,
dude, I'm going Bengals to win the game. I think the Bengals win.
Ooh.
Yeah, Josh Allen's a turnover machine. He's a great player. Turns the ball over all the time.
Machine. It's insane. Dave?
I'm going Bengals as well. Really disappointed by the way the Bengals played the other day against the Ravens. If it wasn't for that fluke play of trying to jump over the line, which was a crazy call to begin with because he's too far away, but it was really the Ravens should have won that game. It's amazing. I thought the Bengals were going to play much better the other day, but I have zero faith in Buffalo right now. I don't like the way Buffalo is playing.
So I agree. I'm taking Bengals plus 4.5. And so I'm going to counterpoint you a little bit here, Dave. When people keep mentioning like the bad play by both the Bills and Bengals, like Bills should have blown out the Dolphins. They didn't. Bengals should have done the same. Those are also like divisional games, though. You know what I'm saying? Like anything can happen in those games.
Yeah.
Like in the AFC South, for example, like that is the fact that the Jags can never beat the Texans and then the Colts can never beat Jacksonville, like ever, even in their crappy years. Like that is, dude, like that is a completely chaos. Freaking a naked man can run on the field. Like no, you don't know what's going on in those games. Like those games are insane.
Exactly what I was going to say.
Yeah. Like I don't know. Like that's my old thing with that. When people are like, "Well, the first round they didn't look very good," I'm like, dude, it's a rival game. You don't know what's going to happen in those. Cowboys at Niners. The other team that's getting way more love right now just because off of one good game is the Dallas Cowboys. Niners are favored minus 3.5. The Palet.
All day long, 49ers.
Okay.
That Cowboys game was a fluke. Tom Brady was terrible. 49ers, best team in the NFL right now. 49ers cover.
I'm with Josh. Niners, zero faith in the Dallas Cowboys.
Wow. So
do it, Mario.
We all are the same. Besides, so Giants is going to be the deal breaker here.
Okay. They I'm surprised.
Do any of you guys want to change to go against?
No, I don't want to change anything. Okay, here's a question for you because I've been running around all day. Do the Cowboys cut their kicker today?
Ooh, great question.
Guy missed 4 extra points. Did he? Because he's still there, right? He only missed 1 during the regular season, but he missed 4 in one game. I was wondering, did the Cowboys make a change with their kicker going into San Francisco?
Yeah, I would. He couldn't. Dude, he was horrible.
He sucked. That's putting it nicely. You know what I'm saying?
What do you do? Would you take a new kicker? Mike Vanderjagt?
What do you do?
Yeah.
Who's your guy? I mean, do you go and you pick up another kicker right now, or you just say, hey, we're going to ride this guy out? It was a fluke.
Big pause. Hold on. Let me think.
You gotta give him confidence. You can't like berate him. You gotta build him up this week.
What, you buy him cupcakes at practice?
Yeah, what do you mean?
I don't
What are
know,
we
crumble. Buy him crumble. I don't know.
They're doing great.
Yeah.
I mean, holy cow, man. I mean, I don't know. This must be pressure playing on the Dallas Cowboys for Jerry Jones anyway. You've done your job the whole year, but man, you blew it right there. You know, I mean, thank God they won. Otherwise, what do you do? How do you miss 4 extra points? That's crazy.
I have no idea.
It's the NFL.
They're probably going to keep him.
We're going to keep him. I mean, it's the NFL. What are we doing here?
And it wasn't like he missed an extra point and then they're like, we're gonna try 50 now, like a hard kick. No, it's still an extra point.
Yeah.
Same
You know
yardage.
what's nuts about that guy? Didn't they say he holds the record for the most field goals over like 60 yards? I mean, it's
Does he? I'm not sure.
yeah.
I thought that'd be Tucker.
Yeah. Just saying, it was a stat they had on television today, and I'm going. I just couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe what I was watching. It was
Josh's face during that. He did not buy that stat.
I just think I'm making stats.
No, I don't think you're making anything. I just think anything with the Cowboys is just so fabricated. Like you never know what's really true.
Yeah.
You know.
What was the? Well, I threw a stat out last week that you guys called me on that was 100% wrong, and I wasn't trying to test you guys. I just missed it because I couldn't see. Remember, I told you that Tranquil led the team in tackles and sacks. You guys both called BS on me.
Yeah.
That was funny.
That's because I couldn't see.
good.
Sorry, now glasses going. All right. Well, there you go. So here's the deal. We're going to wrap up on Sunday. As soon as the games are over on Sunday, it's all done. The last game, of course, is going to be 49ers, Cowboys. We're going to have a show. We're going to sit there and we'll give you all the Charger news that we have, but also we're going to recap the games that we just saw over the weekend and then give you an idea of what we're going to see in the NFC and AFC championship games. But we'll be back for our next Bolt City podcast. Will be Sunday evening, correct?
Correct.
Yes.
Okay. There you go. So again, message us. Hey, we also appreciate everybody that have been watching on YouTube, and the comments were great. We'll read every single one of them. If you want to reach out to us on Twitter, you can absolutely do that. And of course, you listen to the podcast through the Odyssey app, fantastic as well. Again, we appreciate everybody that's tied in. We also want your opinion. Right now, the Chargers have told you Brandon Staley's your guy. He's the guy that's going to lead this team to the Super Bowl and give the Chargers their first trophy inside that trophy case. We'll see. We want to hear what you guys have to think as well. For Josh Palet, Mario Herron, I'm Dave Palet. We'll see you next time on the Bolt City podcast, courtesy of Odyssey.